Hello, this is Teacher Lester coming at you from Vietnam. If you have been watching my videos, you probably know by now that I am a Bitcoin enthusiast, and that's true. So I came across this article in the Guardian newspaper. I wanted to share this with you. Just one moment. Okay. All right, so here is the web page. Let me just move my picture down here out of the way. Okay, so we've got this web page open. It's the Guardian newspaper in the UK, and it's dated Sunday, the 3rd of December, 2017, 0700 GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. So that's 7 a.m. Sunday, yesterday, Sunday, 3rd of December, 7 a.m. UK time. I thought this was quite an interesting article. Where these reporters get this kind of material from, or fancy writing, I don't know. They must be very creative individuals. Okay, so Bitcoin investors hoping to make billions may end up with a sack of fool's gold. That sounds quite good, doesn't it? The way he's titled that. Okay, so sifting the Yukon River for gold was a waste of time for most of the 100,000 prospectors seeking to make themselves rich in the 1890s. The same can be said of the Bitcoin miners who dream of striking it rich by getting their hands on some of the extremely lucrative and painfully elusive electronic currency. Now, what does that mean, elusive? There's nothing elusive about it. If you have the correct mining equipment, the correct computer mining equipment, and the software, you can actually mine and do that. So there's nothing elusive really about it. Okay, so relatively few people have managed to decipher the codes needed to extract Bitcoins from the 21 million locked inside the mathematical problem set by its creator, the software engineer whose true identity is unknown but who goes by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, okay, so decipher the codes. Relatively few people have managed to decipher the codes. Well, I suppose that's not surprising because there's nothing to decipher for the individual. When you have the correct mining equipment and the software and you are mining, then the computer is doing the number crunching and solving the mathematical equations to mine the Bitcoin. So decipher the codes. Not quite sure what he means by that. Okay, let's go on. Those who have employed enough computer power and code cracking know-how can consider themselves rich now, and that the value of one Bitcoin has soared from $753 last December to around $10,000. The rest have deployed huge amounts of energy and time for no return. Okay, code cracking know-how. Code cracking know-how. What does that mean? Does it mean that individuals should have a high level of programming skills to be able to crack code? No, I don't think so. So when it says those who have employed enough computer power and code cracking know-how, there's no code cracking know-how. It's just the computer equipment that's used for mining, the correct computer equipment that's used for mining, and the software will solve the mathematical equations to mine Bitcoin. That's all it is. Okay, and $10,000, well, it's more like $11,000 and a little more than that, over $11,000 at the moment. Okay, next, should anyone be worried about this turn of events, or will it go down as a moment in history when an asset was mined, some people got rich, and that was it? The ambitions of the Bitcoin community mean that the creation of a new currency must be taken more seriously. Its stellar rise in the last 18 months is likely to have sucked in thousands of speculators, many of them from ordinary Investors. I wonder who does the sucking in. Okay. All right. So next, and with the mainstream financial exchanges looking to host Bitcoin as a tradable asset or list derivatives of Bitcoin on their trading board, thousands more will be sucked in over the next 18 months. So who's going to be doing the sucking? The mainstream financial exchanges, the trading boards. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what he means by that. It's by his fancy literary style. Okay. Where ordinary investors hunting in large numbers. Oh, it reminds me of hunting like in a pack of wolves, right? When ordinary investors hunting in large numbers seek a return on their savings in a high-risk environment, governments are usually minded to regulate. Well, I'm not sure about that. You know, let's take the UK housing market, which has that in itself has bubbles every so often. I don't know if it's every 20 years or so. How is the government regulating that? Well, it's not being regulated because the bubbles keep repeating time after time. I should know because I was caught up in the last bubble that burst in, when was it? Some time ago, more than 10 years ago. But it was more than just the real estate bubble or but anyway, that's another story. So the idea behind Bitcoin was that it should be like any commodity that once discovered became increasingly difficult to extract. Like gold, it would become a store of value and make those clever enough to find it and believe in it very rich. Okay. Now, who is this character? Jamie Dimon. Okay. Yeah. Jamie Dimon. A rich Pratt. Pratt meaning foolish person. Okay, so the distributed ledger designed to make each Bitcoin account secure and accountable without the need for third parties like banks to be involved became, for many participants, a potential template for all future deposit, savings, and trading. To that end, it was also viewed as a replacement currency to the dollar, euro, or pound, one that could not be manipulated by central banks, yay, which are only too keen to print extra notes and thereby devalue the currency in times of trouble. It is a seductive package that has led many in the banking industry, those most under threat, to call it a fraud. Now that's very true. Goldman Sachs boss Lloyd Blankfein said so last week, adding his voice to JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon. Now, Jamie Dimon is CEO of the largest of the 4 largest banks in the world, well, in the USA. So we're talking about, we're talking about JP Morgan. So it says here, Dimon described it as a fraud that would ultimately blow up and said the desire to hide funds from regulators and the police meant it was only fit for use by drug dealers, murderers, and places living in places such as North Korea. Now, that just, it makes me laugh a little bit because these kind of people talk in generalities. Okay, so now he says here the desire to hide funds. Well, hide what funds? From regulators. What regulators? And the police meant it was only fit for use by drug dealers, murderers, and people living in places such as North Korea. Well, case in point, I've used Bitcoin many times. I'm not a drug dealer. And, I don't deal in drugs at all. So I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not a murderer. And I don't live in North Korea. So it's just blatantly not true. Easy to say, but not true. Blankfein was more concerned that its volatile price, which dropped 20% in less than 24 hours after topping $11,000 last week, disqualified it from being a sensible currency. What does that mean? If we look at the UK pound, which it was fixed in the, I don't know when it was, 1990, was it 91? I forget the name. It was a mechanism where it was fixed, it was pegged to the European currencies. It was exchange, I can't, it has some fancy acronym with E something. I can't remember now, but it was pegged. And the pound, one of these, one big investor was manipulating currencies and the pound started dropping. It was in free fall. And the prime minister at the time was sweating and was on TV, and the central bank, which was the Reserve Bank, was on TV saying they were in control, but the money was plummeting. And let me tell you, it dropped more than a mere 20% in less than 24 hours. So did that disqualify it from being a sensible currency? No, it didn't. Sir John Cunliffe, a deputy governor of the Bank of England. That's what I meant to say. When I said the Reserve Bank or the central bank, I was talking about the Bank of England. Sir John Cunliffe, a deputy governor of the Bank of England, summed up the view of many in the city when he said calmly that Bitcoin was a sideshow and too small to pose a systematic threat to the global economy. Well, if that is true, then why even mention it? To cover his flank against accusations that the bank, which is the UK's chief financial regulator, was too dismissive of the issue, he also cautioned that Bitcoin investors needed to do their homework. No doubt, all Bitcoin investors think they have done their homework, and regulators probably think they have enough work to do. But while it is easy to say that a fool and their money are soon parted, anyone who interacts with the financial service industry is a potential victim. And with that in mind, regulators should be ready to impose all the usual tools of mis-selling rules and compensation schemes on this freshly minted industry. So before it was a currency, but now it's an industry. Okay, that's funny. And how are these regulators, and who are these regulators, and how will they impose the usual tools of mis-selling rules? What mis-selling rules, and to who are they going to be applied to? So I think this is quite a funny article which can be torn to shreds by anyone with an inquiring mind. So I've pretty much dismissed much of this article. Anyway, I think I've gone on a bit too long about it, and but when I saw this article and I read it, I thought I had to shoot a video about it and express my thoughts on it. So that's all today, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you like my videos, please subscribe below, and catch you in another video soon. Goodbye.